Achievers. Today we're going to be looking at customizing your UI. It's really easy in this game. There's not too much customization available, but as you can see, I've moved a couple of things around. So to do that, you just press the F10. So you make sure you're not in the chat. You press F10, and then you can move stuff around. The notifications, you can actually change. You have some specific settings. I recommend having it really low because it's sometimes a bit delayed, moving it upwards. Sometimes it does move downwards. Don't worry about that. The group, there is no way to change it much, but you can change its opacity. You might start losing a couple of numbers, but when the groups do get big, it might take a bit of your space. So whenever you want something on top of other stuff, you have to click it last. So for example, right now, if I wanted the health that was overposing my stamina bar, I would have to actually click it for it to be above. So pay attention to that when you sort your inventory. So in this case, for example, I have the group chat, the group list, but I can also click the chat. So if the group does become bigger than like 8, 7, it's just gonna overflow over the chat, and you just click the chat, so the chat always stays on top. Okay. Regards to the chat, you really want to be splitting between whatever chats you're using systems. So because notifications is a bit delayed sometimes, you really want that channel to be popping up. So do pay attention to your systems chat, not only to the ones you like hanging out with and harass people with. Another really important thing is to have your stamina bar quite at the center. This is to be sure that you don't run out of stamina when you're fighting stuff. So obviously when you're fighting, also adjust your combos, so you can see your combos when you do them. Be sure to that bar you need to have your weapon auto customize. Another one that you need is to be looking at something to adjust your what you're looking at. So like the target right in front of you, you need to be looking at something. Otherwise, you cannot adjust it, because if I'm looking there, I don't see that one. The same thing with horse riding. So if you actually want to change your horse's UI, you have to be already mounted a horse or Musi or whatever. It applies to all, and then you can see the horse stamina and the speed and all that good stuff. Some of the stuff is important and I keep in the center. Some of the stuff is not so important, so I don't keep in the center. In this case would be, so all the channels you should, as soon as you play them. So for example, let's say I split looking for a group. Okay. Then you come here, you press the lock, and the lock, what it will do is basically allow stuff when you press tab, it's going to show it up or remove it. So for example, if you have a couple of channels that you want to not to see when you're not using them, you can just press the tab and it'll disappear. This is a really useful one for some chats you might not use. Instead of closing them, just press with tab, and like you might keep an eye on it from time to time. Another really useful thing is that you can drag the hotbars out. So for example, imagine I want a 6 hotbar here for some reason, and I want my well, let's say a few emotes. So like press B, go to general info, and I want to frighten somebody. So you can just drag it there. Okay, you can also have the other emotes here. You have to scroll a bit, but you can find the emotes. The prayer stuff is also here. You can drag to bars. What you can also do is the trespasser. So if you have somebody not war declare with you and that is coming to your place, you can trespass them or enslave them if you knock them down, if you're able to knock them down. All the other useful stuff that you can have in UI is coup de graph, heal, trick move, flee, yield. You can also draw tools here. So imagine you want like a, oh shit, I actually messed up there. So imagine that I dropped my item instead of actually dragging it there. To be careful with that, you might lose a couple of things. So imagine you actually want your saw there. So like, okay, press tab, equip my saw. You don't have to be dragging to your equipment or something. It just equips in the first available slot. So it will equip in 1. Obviously the bolts in 2, for example, the shields in 4, but they will go to the designated slot they should be in, or that the game gives to them, or the first available one for that type. So what you can do from here is that you can kill the trespasser. So like if you have somebody in your base, you can use this one, or if you want to frighten somebody. Say you're frightened, actually, not frighten somebody. That probably doesn't frighten too many people. You can use that one. You have also the same thing for all ranges of actions. So for example, usually I use one with my tools, the enslave and kill, depending on the abilities. I have changed my buttons a little bit. You can also customize your buttons. There's not a lot of customization, but you can come to controls and switch some stuff around. So I have some customized ones. For example, I have X for free look and tab. I've used that a lot. The num lock is a really important one. So if you're performing an attack, you can also switch. This is going to be a particular separate video, but to customize your buttons, I'll get to that in a bit. And basically, like you can, for example, usually when I'm at war, I fill this in like the Alt1, Alt2, Alt3 with, for example, weapons. So for example, in my archer, I have the reloads, like are switched to shield. and stuff like that. These ones I just keep as a placeholder because that's what I use in Berserker for the Berserker abilities, but you can also do other stuff. If you have a 100 ability, you also have the trick move. It's kind of like a show off. There's not much reason to go 100, just like 2-3% damage, but it kind of looks cool. Yeah, so keep your bars usable and useful, and you should have a good time. Sometimes, like once every 6 months, these bars might disappear, the stuff you had here, so you just might have to drag it again. But yeah, it's really useful. Um, what else? So, the other things you can customize with regards to, for example, the bar, you can put the opacity of stuff, so you can see the opacity behind the chats and whatnot. That can be customized. In the action bars, you can choose if they're vertical or not. So you can set 10 of one or 5 2. So for example, this one here on the right hand side is 2 5, so it's vertical with 2 rows of 5. You can change the opacity of them, but it would mess up the numbers. So like the tools that you have there. So I usually keep it at 100. One thing that you should do definitely is customize your inventory here. So you can see here the opacity. I always keep my opacity um, uh, at a low level for all the bugs and stuff I interact with, because sometimes you're at war or, or fighting a bandit and then you cannot see what's happening on this side of the screen. So if you lower this one a little bit, this way you cannot see them. This way I can see them right. So I just keep it a little bit lower. Don't forget, if you want to keep it even when you're tapped, for the inventory doesn't work, but for the other ones, like my emote bar disappears. You can see here, this one is unclicked, but if I click it, it will stop disappearing when I press tab. So if I press it again, now I press tab, it does disappear. That's all about the kind of log stuff and whatnot. Another thing would be these three up top here that you see here. So these ones really don't matter much. You have the stuff for the air, the alignment, the character where you took damage. Like, you really don't need that in the front and center of your screen, honestly. So just drag it to a corner. You can keep an eye on it. The food, I used to keep the food there, but sometimes I doing PV stuff and I kind of want the food in a visible place. So I do recommending having that set up somewhere that you can see. Another thing that I wanted to mention with regards to UI would be that every character will have its separate profile. So if you want to reset a profile or something like that, you just go to Settings, Controls, you scroll all the way below to the bottom, and then you see HUD presets. So you have resets for each. You can reset them or delete them, and basically you can switch in between presets if you want with the plus button. So you can add a little shortcut to be able to switch in between the presets that you have on your characters. But it will save all of your characters and allow you to change them, reset them, and whatnot. Uh, that is useful, for example, if you're lancing and you want a different setup for when you're riding mooses or anything like that. I pretty much have all the same, just to be used to where stuff is. But that can indeed become useful for you. Have a good day, and don't forget to like and subscribe, guys. It really helps. See you later.